And the depth of it, and
God, that does look. That looks better than
it's great, isn't it?
$1,000 should.
Yeah.
Okay. Test.
As well, like you're paying for the functionality, obviously, as well. So much of that money is going into the fact that you can do all that shit with your phone and the hand gestures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So really, the camera's a great deal as a camera.
I bought 3 of them. They shipped one right away because of the big release, and then the other 2 are kind of lagging. And I figured out this is a human hack.
Okay.
Is give a gift, don't be a problem, right? So it's like the thing I want is, where are my other 2 cameras at? But then I would be being a problem. So instead, I wrote an email to customer service saying, boy, do I love this camera. Here's an unboxing video and me playing with it, knowing that they're going to click on it, knowing that they're going to see 1.7 million subscribers. They're knowing that they're going to see the title, which was, boy, howdy, I love this camera. And then I'm like, I sure can't wait for the other 2. Would love to hear about it. And then sure enough, like seconds later, they're all like, they're already on the way.
This is bad advice to people who don't have 1.7 million followers on YouTube.
Well, so the version of this that you would do, like everybody who has a favorite podcast, you got to think about the different communication modalities that there are. Put yourself, and I think this would be good practice if everyone did it full stop, but think about what the person you're talking to wants. So let's say you have a complaint about a podcast thing. Then instead of typing an email to your favorite podcast, correcting them on a thing, instead record a 60-second, keep it tight, give them content. So it's the exact same thing. You're still correcting them. Like, for example, let's say I'm listening to a podcast and they get something wrong about fire eating. Instead of saying, you're dumb, fire eating be like this, I might record, hey guys, it's Brian Brushwood. I've been a listener for so many years. I literally wrote the book on fire eating. And you mentioned this fuel, but actually fire eaters use naphtha. It's somewhere in between benzene and gasoline. Anyway, you're great. So now all of a sudden, same thing, I corrected them, but I've given them a gift that they free content. When they get to their mailbag segment of whatever the podcast is, they just drop it in. And also, without ever saying, sometimes people write, hey, if you ever need an interesting person, I'm pretty interesting on there. Like, just talk is cheap.
I like it.
Show up with a gift.
Can I pick up on that for a second? Did you say, do you eat fire?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that, because that's what happened to me.
So, okay, you said that.
I did it wrong.
But you messed up.
Yeah, where did I go wrong? Make me a 60-second video. We'll talk about it.
You know what? Let's bring in the audio listeners. You cut a striking figure. I'll have you describe yourself for the audio folks, but your manner is so confident that I felt like I instantly got what you're about. But for people who are experiencing this only through theater of the mind, how do you describe how you look?
Well, I mean, with hair like mine, you can't not be confident.
Well, I mean, to be honest, very stylish, very stylish.
No, I'm a quadruple amputee. I walk around in everything. I have 2 prosthetic legs, although sometimes people don't really notice that because I wear long pants. Just because I think shorts are very unfashionable.
Well, and also you walk with enough. Again, it's that confidence. Like it doesn't. It never. Even, I just now found out that
you only just found out I didn't have legs.
Yeah. I figured that maybe
Sorry
they
I always keep that up my sleeve or up my pant leg.
Yeah, down your pants. You keep it in your pants.
Yeah, I keep it in my pants. Yeah, I never keep it in. Okay, sorry, we're getting off track. But more visually striking is the fact that I have 2 hooks for hands. And that's the first thing that people notice about me. And I also have a lot of scars on my face from what happened to me as well. So I'm visually striking in that way. The funny thing was, we met up at a Reason.org gig, right, with Nick Gillespie, mutual friend. And we walked into the bar and Nick had picked the bar, I think. And he didn't know that there was already an event happening there. And it was an event for firefighters.
Yes. First of all, we crashed it in like hayseeds, like, yo, where's the drinks at? And meanwhile, everybody's a black tie affair and it says, congratulations, Firefighters Association.
And I'm the only one that would have passed as a firefighter at that point. Like, if we'd stayed there, I would have got free drinks all night.
Well, and it was funny
Nick
because
wanted to leave because he doesn't like firefighters.
Oh, that's right. No, he definitely has legit, actual, non-ironic beef about firefighters.
He has a bee in his bonnet about firefighters.
So how did you and Nick get on the same page?
I met Nick at a conference which we shared the stage of last year called Dissident Dialogues in New York. And we ran into each other, either in the green room or out the back or something like that. And I was kind of aware of him generally or loosely, although I didn't know a hell of a lot about him. And then when we got talking, I immediately thought to myself, this is one of my favorite new people. Like, that's it. I just love his mannerisms. I love his way with words. He's funny. And we just got chatting. And then, I'm traveling the globe right now shooting my own YouTube series called Last Meal.
Which, by the way, buckle up, listeners and viewers, because this is layers on layers. It's imagine imagine Tom, who is exactly as Tom just described, except for that's the least interesting part of the series, which is all about cooking. Is it specifically a last meal, like you're about to die?
It's the choice of last meal somebody would have if it were the end of the world.
Yeah.
And so it's always posed to them like that. The world is ending. You can have one last meal. It doesn't, and we talk about more than just the meal. We talk about the context, like who would you want to share that meal with? What kind of conversations would you have with loved ones? What was the perfect context of your last meal? And the shoot is the show itself, is actually a mix. It's just wisdom, but it's like digestible wisdom. So that question is a platform from which you can ask so many deeper philosophical questions about someone's life.
Well, and so often, if it is important, you must not say it out loud. And in the cases like nobody wants to sign up for vegetables, but by the time they've had the experience, they're all like, "Oh my God, and I ate vegetables? That's amazing!" And you're like, "Ha, I tricked you. Yeah. I poured glaze all over it." I don't know. This is mixed.
Well, people's choice of last meal is always really interesting, and it reveals something about them. But for some people, it's something that reminds them of their childhood. I had one person who requested something that they'd never had before because trying new experiences was something that was really important to them. And they wanted the last thing. Did you feel a
little bit dunked on in that moment where they're all like, "I'm holding up a mirror to you. How do you judge me?"
Here's the thing, right? I feel dunked on in every fucking episode, right? Because I'm sitting down with some of the most interesting intellectual people on the planet. Some of these people have been heroes of mine for many years. And I would have no other reason to be in a room with them other than that I came up with the idea for this show.
But do you feel intimidated? Because
100%. Okay, I feel intimidated sitting here with you.
No.
We've only known each other for 3 days.
Yeah, but we're already past. I mean, it's like we're talking about dick jokes already.
Yeah,
it's fine.
That's true. Yeah.
So okay, so you let's go to before.
Nick was a guest of mine. Just to close that loop.
Yeah.
I once I met him, I asked him to come on the show, and he gracefully accepted the invitation. So that's how I got to know him.
And it just happened to be coincidence that you were in Austin for South by Southwest.
Yes. So we launched Last Meal at South by Southwest just a couple of weeks ago, and we went down to Houston for a week after that to film another episode with an astronaut guy down there, which was fantastic. And then the first week we got to Austin, Lauren and I both got COVID or something even worse. It was like mutant fucking COVID.
It's called America disease.
Yeah, it
Welcome.
Was I probably got it on the plane, to be honest, because the onset was so quick. But we were supposed to be filming with somebody on the first week. We had to cancel it. And so luckily for that, as I say luckily, we got to come back to Austin to redo the shoot we didn't do. Mm-hmm. And so we're here last week, and I was texting Nick about something totally different. And he was like, "Oh, I'll have to get back to you soon. I'm in Austin." And I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here. I'm here right now." And so he was like, "Oh, come to these drinks on Wednesday." And that's how I met you.
And what's funny is you guys carried yourself with a casual familiarity, and I was the interloper that I'm just like, well, clearly they got a whole thing.
Yeah.
And then it was interesting too because, okay, so talk to me about starting the YouTube channel, because I know before that you are already established on the speaking circuit. In fact, we bonded instantly because as somebody who toured colleges with my, punk rock, blood and guts, fire eating, nail in the eye, sideshow, magic show, I was always jealous of the people who made 3 times as much money giving inspirational talks.
Yeah.
And within their crowd, you had the elite status of an instant shortcut to people's full attention because you're the very way you present radiates. Yeah, that's right. I got a story. It's probably pretty good. Yeah. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, that's right. I am front loaded with a little bit of that sort of interesting, I guess you would call it.
Pre-interesting.
Pre-interesting.
Well, and it is sort of a bit of marketing. It's a bit of, that's right. You can ask.
Yeah. It's like, it's the reason that people dress a certain way or just to evoke a particular brand, I guess, or whatever it is. But this, because I had a friend who told me once, he said, you have pre-funny. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And he's like, oh, like, before you say something, I know it's going to be funny, which, I mean, he ingratiates me, Danny, a little bit. But I think it's just pre-interesting, right?
Yeah.
So somebody sees me in a bar, they're like, oh, he's got hooks. I really need to work out why.
Yeah.
So it's like shooting fish in a barrel for me.
Oh,
I don't need to develop this personality. It's just happened despite of it.
Well, and so much of, for years, I think in my entire 75-minute stage show, I tell exactly one joke. And even then, I announce I'm going to tell a joke to kill time. But there's lots of moments of laughter. And I was confused. I was like, I'm not telling a single joke. I mean, the show is funny, but I wouldn't call myself a comedian. And then I found out that historically, from an evolutionary perspective, there's a tribe of hunters out, right? A twig snaps. Everybody coils up and is tense, and then out comes a cute lemur or something, right? At which point, everybody bursts into laughter. It's that tension and it's that relief.
Release of the tension.
Exactly.
That's exactly right.
So you get the advantage comedically of pre to everybody talking to you is coiled up. And then
everybody's heard the twig and I'm the lemur. Yeah.
Yes, you're the lemur. Exactly. Well, and what's funny is once somebody goes past the threshold, then the two of you become a unit of something. And then they're on the inside as they see another person come in. And because they know that you're comfortable breaking the tension, I assume that instantly creates kinship with everyone around you.
I think so. That's probably the best assessment anyone's ever made of it. But yeah, that's exactly it.
I'm deeply uncomfortable with your flattery and I'll have none of it. So I kid you not, Tom, when I thought of this podcast, I thought of the one opening question that I was going to ask everyone, and we didn't. We just started going.
Yeah, that's fine.
But now I'm going to ask, and I want you to know that this was already decided.
Okay,
Tom, when did you know you were different from everybody else?
I'm different?
Yeah.
I right now. Just you saying that. Well, I mean, there's a couple of ways I can answer that. Obviously, I'm different to everyone else because I have this disability. But then there's a deeper understanding where, I'm not actually different to everyone else. And I think everybody underneath it all is kind of the same and just trying to work out their own path and way to understand themselves in the world around them. And I don't think I'm any different in that respect. I also don't think I'm different in the respect that, people will often say to me, like, I couldn't have gone through what you did and been okay on the other side. And it kind of pisses me off when people say that.
Yeah.
Because before it happened to me, I probably would have thought the same. And so, our preconceptions about how we tackle problems are almost always wrong. And I was talking to someone else about this the other day, that Seneca quote, we suffer more in our imagination than in reality. And I think we think that we're going to react particular ways and we don't know how we're going to react. And we could go through something like I've been through and be fine. I was. Mm-hmm. And so if I want anyone to get anything from seeing me as a person being like severely disabled but totally fine with it, it's that, any average person can get through horrible shit and be okay on the other side. Mm. It doesn't mean to say that everybody will, but anybody can. Yeah. Well, okay. Do you mind taking, and we don't have to, I don't want to make you work because this is, I assume, part of the story that you tell to get paid. And we're just hanging out. Yeah, I get paid very little, so that's fine. Okay, good. Well, then I will pay you very little. How does zero sound? Yeah. So what's a version of your story that you want to share? Okay, so I'll give you the pricey version, so we're not laboring too much on it. But about 24 years ago, when I was 19, I contracted a disease called meningococcal, which is kind of like a meningitis. And it causes septicemia, which is like a blood poisoning. It's an extremely deadly disease. Not many people survive it. And I presented to hospital just at the right time and caught it to the point where, the doctor told me if I was 10 minutes later, I would have been dead. Wow. Pardon me. But the upshot of it was I spent the next 18 months in hospital. The first 2.5 weeks of that, I was in a coma. I woke up, I was on life support. The doctors had told all my family and friends to come in and say their goodbyes because it was likely I wasn't going to make it.
So you go into the coma, you come back to consciousness, and you come back not to, well, that was something, but now you're past it. You come back to
Very much not.
Hey,
Yeah.
It's twilight, sun's going down.
That was the beginning of it. I didn't wake up with no arms and legs. I woke up fully intact, and the amputations and all of the operations that I went through, skin grafts and all this shit, had to happen after that.
Yeah.
So I was in there was a 4 to 5 month period that I was across 2 major hospitals in Sydney, Australia, where I'm from, they did all my amputations and did like skin grafts and dressing changes and all sorts of really horrible and painful shit. And then the last year of my hospital stint was in a rehabilitation hospital. And that's where not for alcohol, although it probably should have been.
Yeah.
That's where they put prosthetic legs on you, get you walking again.
Right. You get accustomed to your new understanding of reality.
That's exactly right.
I've been reading a lot of David Eagleman stuff, talking about neurons that fire together, wire together, and about how folks who are blind, they can wear a vest that has, attaches to a webcam, and at first it's just so many dots on their back. But after a while, they can shoot hoops. And,
really?
And they're
Is that through some sort of like a Neuralink thing, or?
No, it's just with enough exposure, it becomes your reality. For example,
amazing.
There's another one. There's a gizmo for tinnitus, where it's like tinnitus is entirely psychological, or it's just noise. So basically,
that makes sense.
You hear the ringing, right? And normally, we have blind spots. And our brain is constantly photoshopping them out, right? And sometimes you'll notice floaters across your vision.
Yes, I get those.
But then if you hold your eyes still, you can watch them get photoshopped out, right? And so in the case of tinnitus, if you wear this gizmo wristwatch, it's just a microphone that takes sound and translates it into a bunch of vibrations all around your wrist. And so you just live with it. And after a while, you begin to realize that whether you hear it or not, outside of your normal hearing things, you feel the vibrations, and you're like, that's a dog barking, that's this, that's that.
Wow.
And then your brain doubles down and is like, well, wait a minute, that high-pitched whine, how come I don't feel it here? That must not be a real sound. And then it photoshops it out of
That's mind-blowing.
Right? And so with that, weirdly, as I understand it, when people go through something extraordinary, and this is true, there's a psychological return to baseline.
Recalibration,
And maybe
Absolutely.
I'm dialed in on this a little bit more because, turning 50, you kind of do an assessment and like, oh, this year is not working so good and so on. But subjectively, everything feels the same. And I'm aware that almost certainly, like if I A/B watch myself talking 20 years ago versus watch myself talking now, very clearly, like that dude is 20 years older than the other dude.
Yeah.
But subjectively, it still feels like I'm talking as fast as ever.
Yeah. There is a homeostasis to psychological well-being. I know that.
Well, and so what was that like for you? Because what a challenging time to encounter something like that at the age of 19, young adulthood, finally got that grown-up thing out of the way. Let's get started. Whoops.
Yep. Yeah, whoops. That's the first thing I said when I came out of a coma. Whoops. What the fuck was that? And you got to hear like whoop, 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 in the background or something. No, I always felt, and I don't think about this a lot, but my psychological well-being during that period was not great, as you could imagine, right? But a lot of it was tied really closely to the pain that I was in.
So
in such unimaginable pain. Like there's no way for you to just, grin and bear it when you're in that much pain. And so as I got better and in less pain, I started to be able to make advancements and, actually get better at walking and using hooks and stuff like that. And the better I got at that, the less pain I was in, the less psychological pain I was in as well. And so I think I returned to that set point or set range of psychological well-being fairly swiftly once all the physical pain was gone.
Was there, and I would imagine that the level of okayness pivots, but do you remember a sense, or did you note the moment that you felt okay and realized, oh, shit, I feel okay?
No, I don't think I did. I think it was really iterative. Like I think it was just it's gradual over time. And, there were moments when I was suicidal, when I was in hospital, but I was suicidal because I woke up and I had to go through 4 or 5 hour like dressing changes on my body that would register a number on the pain scale that I didn't before register that exists.
Yeah.
Like they're like 1 to 10. This is like 85. I don't know what to tell you, right? Like it's that bad that you're just like death would be better. I'm so glad I didn't take that route.
Oh, sure.
Now because I have the best life in the world. And
well, okay, so tell me about that. Surely you noted that moment when you're like, oh my God, I'm crushing it.
yeah. I mean, I'm not even crushing it, but I'm still having the time of my life.
Wait, I mean, that's fine subjectively, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm crushing it in terms of like how you would manage or judge the success of someone's career.
Well, but those are all external validators.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But crushing it in terms of living a life where I wake up every day, I'm doing what I love, and enjoying every single moment. I get to meet amazing people. We travel the world together. Like what else do I want? You know what I mean? Like maybe another dog. I would like. I love my dog. I miss my dog when I'm overseas. Well, that's my biggest down point. And we become psychopaths. Like we'll sit at cafes and stalk other dogs and become friends with them. Not the owners, just the dogs.
Well, so when you're in recovery, right, there's this, I assume there's some moment when you begin to become mobile and you begin to become self-sufficient and there has to be some moment that you have the thought, well, now what do I want to do? Because, there's certainly a time where everyone can take care of you. And I assume everybody has their own journey back to, no, I want to do this or that. Or
yeah.
Do you remember when you wanted to start speaking publicly or charging money for that kind of thing?
I didn't do that until a couple of years ago. In fact, my whole career has been a nightclub DJ.
What?
Yeah.
What?
You didn't know that about me.
No. Well, and I guess that makes sense. You go out, you live, you get good life experience, you gather up some really good stories, you get good, as comedians think of it, you get good material, and you get a tight five and you hop up on stage.
I mean, I didn't want to do things like writing books and doing speaking until I'd actually done something that was of note. I don't think losing your arms and legs is something of note.
Well, but
it's just something that happens to you.
Yeah, but the story of your return to normalcy or a new
which
normal.
includes you actually fucking achieving something, right?
Yeah,
and so that's what I wanted to do.
So tell me about that because similarly, when I quit my day job and decided I wanted to be a magician, I did a lot of these success events, right?
Yeah.
And there were 3 types of speakers. There's one where you would have usually a sports person who did something extraordinary, and their advice was always the same. They're like, I believed in myself. I stayed true. And at the right time, the right shaped ball went through the right shaped apparatus and everyone claps, right? Like, thanks. I don't know what I got
none of them
out
account for luck.
Exactly, right? Or survivorship bias or any of that stuff, right? And then there's the second guy where it's all tactical, everything. Like you do this and then I call it a flip-a-doodle and then you leverage this to some of and all of this works because it's in my book available for $99.
Yeah.
And I'm
right.
like, okay, all right, But then usually there'd be a third person who was still in the middle of actually doing it, whatever it was. If it was for me, it was Dan Kennedy and direct marketing, where he gave no efforts given, just came out, big bushy mustache. Old transparency overhead projector with cigarette stains on it, and people getting up and leaving. Did not care because this dude was like, look, it's pure gold. I don't care if you buy it or not. It's $300. And I was just, and sure enough, that ended up being very important to me. But my point being, I'm still terrified to give advice because I don't want to be the second category, the kind of faker who's just running a perpetual grift.
Yeah.
It's like I want to still be the one doing the thing. And it sounds like likewise you had the same hesitation before you crossed over to telling a story. You wanted to have completed a story worth telling.
That's right. Yeah. And also accruing the wisdom. And I think part of accruing that wisdom is that there is really no advice you can give anyone. Like, I mean, you can tell them your own experiences with the caveat that this may not work for you. This is just what worked for me. I think that the difference with the 2 people that you're talking about is if anybody tells you they have the answer to what they should be doing, to the listener, I guess, without knowing the situation of the listener,
It's
probably a scam.
Yeah. Or at the very least, I don't know, like one of those self-perpetuating.
Like if you do it, it works, and therefore if it works, there's a survivor bias, and those people tell the other people.
Yeah,
is that what you mean,
well, there is a bit in that whole motivational circuit. There's a bit of a dopamine. There's a high.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and I don't want to tell people, no, never engage in that, because there are times I'm like, man, I could use a pump up. I'm going to spend $150 and spend a day watching inspirational figures give me inspiration.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, hey, dummy, yeah, you can do it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Do you talk to yourself the way I just represented?
Yeah, absolutely. But not out loud.
Yeah. Well, I not out loud for me either, but that's another thing. The more I learn about kind of the multiple parts of the brain, it's like you got a non-lingual roommate. Like, you know, it's 2 a.m.
Well, it's interesting. Do you hear the voice in your head, or do you see images?
I'm usually the one talking, and I'm usually talking to what I am watching my body doing. For example, it's 2 a.m. And I'm like, really? So we're doing this. You sure you don't want the green beans? You're like, oh, you want cereal. We're doing cereal.
So you've got like a narrative that has its own attitude as well.
Oh, yeah. I'm harshly judging myself while I'm watching. And then I'm like, that's right, we're doing this. And, like, try to stop me. I'm like, all right, well, at least
here's another question. I found something out that was really interesting last year. I was in France with a friend of mine who lives over there, and he was telling me that his wife, when she listens to a song in her head, she hears herself singing it.
Herself?
So pick any song, whatever it is, it's got lyrics. When she hears that, just in her head, she hears the music from the band, but she hears her voice doing the lead vocal, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's crazy. Like,
even
no
when
one
it's
does
like
that.
Barry White or something.
Yeah,
or,
whatever, right? And my friend Adrian, he was like, yeah, that's crazy. Like, nobody does that. You do it. My girlfriend does it as well. And it was only revealed at this part that we started discussing it. And we're looking at...
It's your voice doing an impression of it.
So she said that it's your voice doing an impression of the lead vocalist, but you somehow part of you knows it's you. So anybody listening at home, that's a question for you. When you hear a song in your head, do you hear yourself singing it as an impression of the vocalist, or do you hear almost the exact recording? Let us know in the comments.
So let's talk about, like, where
do you want me to take it from? I'll take it from.
We're talking about the brain.
We were. Well, I was going to pick up on. I mentioned I was a DJ.
Yeah.
And we're talking about career.
Yeah.
And you asked, was there a point at which, I had to decide at the end, getting out of hospital, like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And I think that for me was, when you go through something that I had, you get a bit of a realignment of your values of what you want to do. So before I got sick, I was studying at university. I was doing because I was kind of, you're obliged to go to college, I guess it is, right? Mm-hmm. I had to pick something that wasn't exactly something I wanted to do as a job, but just something I found interesting. So as soon as I got out, you have that moment of like, oh, my life could be taken away at any point in time.
I would imagine that changes things.
Yeah, and it changes things, yeah. So I completely switched the direction of my career. I studied sound engineering because I wanted to do something in music. I always loved music. And before I lost my arms, I was actually a guitarist. That was my big passion.
That's interesting. I wonder if that gave you an advantage, because those skills and that intuitive understanding of that wonderful alchemy of what makes a song good, like you develop that. I mean, at the time you bothered to use your hands, but really it lived in your mind.
Yes. And that's exactly what happened. So when I got out of hospital, I actually wanted to try and find a way to play guitar without hands.
Okay.
And I did it. So I had an old Stratocaster. That's what I used to play. And I converted it. I raised the action up on it. I put flat wound strings, and I developed a slide system that would fit into my left hook and a pick holder that would fit into my right hook.
Oh, yeah.
And then I played it open tune on my lap. And as you were saying, like, I've already got the knowledge of the music, and I just needed it was a realignment because I had to redefine the problem that I was trying to solve. I didn't want to become, Jimi Hendrix, because it's likely I would never have been anyway.
Right.
But I wanted to be able to write music, and I wanted to play with my friends. And I could do that with a really simplistic version of like a slide guitar. And the weird thing was, because I'd lost all the self-consciousness that I had before when I was a teenager playing guitar, not wanting to play in front of people.
Oh yeah, I would imagine you have no efforts left to
fuck
give.
It, who cares?
Yeah.
I actually took guitar further than I did before as someone with no hands. So I started a band and we recorded music and played around. That's what I was telling you. We once supported Hilltop Hoods. That was the band.
My day was made just a scant 2 hours ago. Yeah.
And so I only did that for a year or two. I think we're in that band, but I was studying sound engineering at the same time because I wanted to be in the music industry, but I didn't want to be a starving artist. So maybe I can carve out a career path. And I also did like a diploma of music business management as well, so I could get my head around that. And then this opportunity came up that one of the clubs that I had organized some music gigs at asked me to do some work experience there, and I got to know some of the people that worked in nightclubs. And this guy at a club offered me, he said, the people who run our Saturday nights are leaving. Would you like to have a go at running a Saturday night? And my close friend Chris and I, we'd been talking about doing something together. He was in my band. He's also my best friend. And we had talked about doing stuff together anyway at that point. So we're like, let's take this opportunity and see if we can take a couple of months running a Saturday night event. So we started doing that, and we were thinking about like the whole how do we get into DJing kind of thing. We're like, the path that people usually take to DJing is, they get good at DJing, they buy the equipment and they practice and they make mixtapes and they become friends with people and, listen to my mixtape and beg people for gigs and shit. And we're like, well, what if we just like flip that and we start this club and then we put ourselves on as the headline DJs, right? So you're selling one thing, which is the club. That's the experience. That's the brand. That's the decorations. That's the themes. That's the drinks. That's who's going to be there. That's the bands that are playing. And then we sort of slide ourselves in like a musical Trojan horse, like later on in the night as the headline DJs.
So similarly, a friend of mine he's runs an advertising practice, and he's got these radio ads where, talking about wants to help people or whatever. And I'm like, dude, don't do that. Instead, the very first few seconds, have somebody accuse you of being the cynical millionaire maker. And then you spend the whole ad defending yourself that you're not cynical. Yeah. Because meanwhile, we're going to spend 30 seconds watching you get savage. Like, yeah, no, you're the cynical millionaire maker. Yeah. You know what we're arguing about whether you're cynical. You know what we're not arguing about? The fact that you make millionaires, which is the real thing. So again, there's
That's good. I like that.
The important part you must never say out loud, right? So you start doing this, you're how old at this time?
I think I would have been about 24, 20, something like that.
Okay.
And so we start this club and it just went gangbusters. The first night we ran was the first time I ever DJ'd.
Oh, wow.
Not like publicly, privately, at any point.
Now, so the role of DJ, do you do a lot of talking when you're the DJ? Or?
It's just music. I mean, some people do talking. That's frowned upon by me.
I frown upon them.
Yeah, that's right. But a lot of people do. I like this fucking assholes that everybody do this. No.
But I guess really your job is to be the alchemist of the party and make sure that the vibe is, are we getting too much this?
No, it's just music curation. You know what I mean? Like, make people have fun.
Yeah.
You're not the main event. And that's what I think I learned from a young age with DJing is that you're only one part of an overall experience for people. And we learned that by creating a club experience. Like, they're definitely not coming for us because we're not fucking DJs.
Yeah.
And we don't have a brand or anything like that. They're coming for a bunch of reasons. And you're just one part of that. And once you understand that, I think you become a better DJ.
So definitely when whether you are making changes on the fly or crafting a curated experience, alone in your basement and then presenting it to the world, both are valid. Which of those flavors do you like to do, and tell me why?
I've only ever played in clubs. I've never played in a basement.
No, my point is like, is it a linear experience or are you making changes based on what you're seeing the crowd react to?
Oh, you do both.
Yeah.
So you start out with a plan and then you don't follow it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, now we're in familiar territory.
Yeah.
Here on the Modern Rogue, we always start by announcing a title and a thumbnail. So we all hold it in our mind.
Yeah.
And then and then we discover what the episode actually is.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's like writing a book as well. I released a book a couple of years ago, and it's a memoir. But I didn't realize what the book was really about until I'd finished writing the fucking thing, right? Because it's like I'm telling a bunch of stories and anecdotes from my life and things that I think people will find interesting. But then I'm picking bits of like points that I'm actually making inadvertently from it, and then concocting an actual idea about what the actual book's message is. And it's the same kind of thing. And it's the same with DJing. Like I need to have a plan of like how I think this set is going to go and how I think these people are going to respond. But I need to be able to pivot halfway through. If they think that I'm a shit DJ, I got to move into a different territory. So I think that's a skill in and of itself that you develop. I definitely didn't have that when we started. And that was the thing, is we only planned to run that night for a couple of months. It ended up being the longest running weekly club night in Sydney. We ran for like 13 years.
Wow. And so...
every Saturday.
And so I assume that at some point the novelty, the dopamine hits, there are other shiny things in town. You start to notice attendances and what you want. You're like, let's do something else. How does that go?
We did different things. So we became quite good at DJing quickly. I think because we threw ourselves in the deep end and we learnt on the go. So I think if we'd learnt in the basement, we wouldn't have been as good to be reactive like we were just talking about. And so we very quickly got booked to play at other clubs, which was very foreign to me. Yeah. Because I'd only just started up this club, which was a bullshit reason for me to get a DJ gig.
Yeah.
And 2 months, 3 months down the track, we've got clubs in other cities just being like, oh, we'll fly you up and put you up in a hotel if you come play that. I'm just like, what are you guys, crazy? But they did. And so we had careers as DJs that's been my main job for the last 15 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we started an entertainment company, which we ran various different events. We played every music festival that came to Sydney, all big ones, stuff like that. We started our own record label. We released music. So that's been my career, basically. But there's a point at which it's not that I can't stand DJing anymore. I still quite enjoy the act of DJing. I lose the ability to have conversations with 20-year-olds in nightclubs that are on ecstasy. Yeah. I could tolerate it when I was younger, and now I'm just kind of like, I know where this is going. Yeah. And I can't do it anymore. So I'm just like, we do less of that now, and we still run events every now and then, and I still DJ at other places from time to time, but now it's on my terms. And I feel like, having had a full career, making the brave decision not to become a Paralympian, and also
so noble.
Yeah, exactly. Not being the dude who you were talking about, the second guy
who put the ball through the right apparatus.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and that was really important to me as well, because doing something that nobody expected. You see a quadruple amputee and it's got, did he climb Everest? What did he do? No, he was found in a DJ booth.
He melted your face with awesome.
King's Cross, doing acid and playing, that was my story. And I think it was different enough to be entertaining to people, right?
Yeah.
And so I liked that I'd at least completed that. And then I felt that I could start writing a bit about my experiences and what I did, and writing a book, and I did a TED Talk and stuff like that. And really drawing from the wisdom that I'd gained through having a disability, which is that mainly I found it as an advantage. Yeah. For some of the reasons that we've discussed already about being the lemur, for one. But also just it changed my approach to problem solving and things like that. I do things differently to everyone else, and I think that's given me a benefit. And so I don't see disability as a disadvantage in my context. I see it very much as an advantage. I'm not trying to say there aren't disadvantages, because of course, a lot of it sucks. I have to travel around with spare parts and bullshit, and then sometimes if I get a cut on my leg, it's hard to walk for it can be a nightmare. Well, but it's a small price to pay, is what I'm saying.
It's also funny because it's amazing to me how many things are identical except for how you perceive it. For example, I think it was Sam Harris's podcast. He pointed out that the exact same situation, a week of being alone. I mean, you're fed, you're comfortable, you're just alone with your thoughts. People pay $10,000 for the privilege of a silent meditation retreat. Yep. it's also a literal war crime to be put in solitary confinement, locked in with your own thoughts.
That's right.
And they're identical, and they're objectively identical. Likewise, traveling is a pain because you need a hand here or there and so on.
Yeah.
But it's like that's identical to being a fucking knight in shining armor who needs a squire.
That's right. And he's talking about perspective, but I think the other important part of that is context.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because like being at a meditation retreat is very different to being in solitary confinement, I'm sure.
Sure.
But I think context is something that you can build into your experience and your perception of things. So like I could actually choose to view the negative parts of my disability as much bigger than they are. Anyone who knows me well will know that I complain constantly every day about anything that's not my disability. Like I complain, fuck man. Like if we get to know each other,
all right, bring it.
Anything, right? Like being in a queue, being on hold, if I get the wrong fucking if the delivery guy just expects me to come to him, like I will complain about the smallest bullshit, but I rarely complain about the big stuff.
Yeah,
and I do this automatically. I'm not making a conscious decision to do it. I think it's just part of my personality. But I also think that the complaining about the small stuff helps me get through it a little bit better.
And I think that to some degree we choose our domains. And like I have no expectation of becoming the president of the United States. As a result, I feel no disappointment that I'm nowhere close to it.
I agree with you.
And likewise, I would imagine that now I do bristle in other domains. You know what? I'm going to end this chain of thought. I don't want to think about the things that I am disappointed in. I want to think about how awesome this moment is.
Okay, fair enough.
So who first got you on stage talking?
That's a good question. I'd done it a couple of times earlier on, like when I say earlier on, like 10 years ago in an official capacity, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was a shit speaker. Mm-hmm. It had just been that a couple of companies had said, hey, will you come and like talk at this conference, and it's a small scale type thing, and I would just accept it, like no money or anything. I would just go and do it. And I didn't have a well-crafted talk or any points. I would just tell stories. It was more like comedy that wasn't funny or something like that.
Yeah.
Something that,
well, but it has the same structure. Like, there's a setup, a twist, a resolution.
Yeah. It was just like that. So the first time I got up on stage was probably not that interesting, but I'd started getting into it. I got asked to do a TED Talk in 2019. And that was, I guess, my first real big onstage thing. And doing a TED Talk is, it's a lesson in how to do public speaking because, they don't let you just get up there and fucking speak extemporaneously, right, which is what I typically do. You work with a team, you write your talk and you send it to them, and they're like, okay, this is great. Why don't we shuffle this around there? Or, I don't like that bit, cut that shit out. And I love that. I love brutal feedback. And they're like that. And they were a fantastic team at the time at TEDx Sydney. And they really helped me craft this piece that, was like 10 minutes or something like that. And it did really well. It got selected by TED.com. It got put up on their website. It's got like 3 million views.
Wow.
And so that really launched a lot of people like asking me to come and do talks, which at the time I was like, fuck, now I have to do.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Now I got to. It's not now I got to do it.
Excite you the idea of a new domain, a new?
Oh no. I don't. It did excite me to an extent of like, oh, this could be another career, and that would be great to be able to do that because presumably there's a lot of travel involved, and I like that aspect of it. But I also then had to write the fucking thing, right? Because if you do a conference for a big company like Microsoft or something, like you're not getting up there for 10 minutes and doing your TED Talk. It's got to be like a.
Right.
It's a 45
minute. And then you have to pick from the menu of like, what's my point? Which of the check boxes am I satisfying by being here? Well, and you mentioned before that you're into the branding space. Is that one of the check boxes? Like if somebody were to hire you, okay.
No one hires me for that.
Wait, so
I wouldn't even hire myself for that.
Why do people even hire you? I mean, I'm having a great time, but I'm paying you very little.
Yeah, that's true. I think the best price to pay anyone is either a lot or nothing.
I agree. Full price or it's free.
Yeah.
The worst gigs ever are the ones that they cry poor.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you know what? This is a giant corporate 2-day event, but I'm going to charge you the lowest I can. Here's my community college 30-minute price. And they're like, great. And you walk in and it's extravagant and over the top and they treat you like garbage. I don't understand it.
That's right. And just being on the receiving end of that a lot is the same, because you're kind of like, I want to charge two prices for my speaking engagements, either a lot or zero. Because if I do it for zero, I can build in the intrinsic value that I'm providing or getting from this experience. Whereas if it's a tiny fee, I'm just like, oh, I'm doing it for this. I'm mentally anchoring to whatever that is. Right.
Well, and there's, I guess we're back in brain chemistry now. There, like here in America, it's, I believe I have this right. Somebody will correct me because it's the internet, but it's illegal to get paid to donate blood.
Yes, I've heard that.
All of those plasma donations.
Actually, I think you told me that.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
You told me that on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I know that. Of course. I'm like, no, you fucking told me.
I heard some dipshit told me that the other day. Then I'll bring everyone else up to speed. Here in America, you can't get paid for your blood. If you're being paid for your plasma, it's being used for cosmetics, is what I was told. And part of that is because when you think of the transactional versus the relational, when you think about, let's say you get paid $50, our Vulcan brains would say, meep boop, $50 is better than $0. But instead what happens is $50 and I got to take off work and I got to do this and they jab a needle in me. I don't know. And it's like, you don't want to engage that kind of calculus at all in there. So likewise, that's what if it's a free experience, I think both of us would agree, I know how to provide value for free. You're going to feel like you got a bargain.
That's right.
And if it's a full price thing, I mean, obviously we already know we can provide value at full price. Yeah. It's those mushy middles. And again, because they know they're paying less and they're getting a deal, I'm sure that in their mind, they're thinking about the congruence of, well, I mean, are we going to do backflips? This guy is doing it for so cheap.
Yeah. Or they build in the fact that like we're paying him so much, they're already preloaded. They're like, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So they can think it's amazing.
Okay. So
I'm definly not worth what I get paid to speak.
Well, okay.
Well, put it out.
That's all right. We're going to talk about your marketing. What's a surprising, wacky story that you like to tell?
Surprisingly wacky story.
A situation that I wouldn't, if we just met, which we just did, that I wouldn't expect that you found yourself in.
Oh, I have heaps of those, but I can't think of them right now. Oh, I could tell you, what's the one I told at the fucking, when I was it like about 21, I'd first gotten out of hospital and I'd been living independently for like 6 months. And my grandfather had said to me, because he flew over when I was pretty much dying, and came to say his goodbyes. And he was a great, I loved him, respected him a lot. And he said, I said to him, next time when I get out of here, I'm going to come visit you. And he looked at me and he was like, yes, like that sounds great. But I could sense this disbelief in his eyes.
Yeah. And
so one of my first objectives when I got out of hospital was like, go to England and rock up to his house.
Yeah.
Walking.
Wow.
Right? And so I did that. I'd been out of hospital for like a year. I'd been living independently for 6 months. I just met a new friend who I became friends with really quickly. And this is Craig. And I said to the guy, you want to come to Europe with me? And he's like, yeah. And it was a big risk for him as well, because he's like, this new friend of yours who has no arms and legs, would you like to be responsible for like if anything happens?
You want a squire for this night? Yeah.
So we went over there for like 6 weeks, and my grandparents' place, I should say, and my auntie and cousin live in the north of England. It was the first port of call. And so we stayed with them for about a week or something. That was great. And then we decided that we weren't going to finish there. We were actually going to hire a car and drive all around Europe as well. And when you're in the north, or where they're sort of Warrington, northish, which is between Manchester and Liverpool, for those with poor geography, you need to drive to a place called Hull, which looks as good as it sounds. And then you get the ferry over from Hull to Rotterdam, and you put the car underneath. And so it's actually like an overnight thing. and it looks like a cruise ship. If you can think of the cheapest, shittest cruise ship you've ever seen in your life. And like the people are exactly as you would expect. And everybody's kind of getting drunk, even though they have to drive off the ferry in the morning.
Okay.
Right? And we go down there and we start drinking as well. And it's like there's some families sitting around, but then there's some young couples and young people and stuff like that. And after a few drinks, the family's going to go to bed. And then there's like a few younger people or young couples sitting around still getting hammered. And I went outside to smoke because I was a cigarette smoker at the time. And as I was walking out, I clocked these two people that were like eyeing me off. And this is a typical thing that I get, they're kind of like, they want to know what happened or whatever it was. And,
I would imagine that at all times you have kind of a low grade map of which eyes are furtively in the peripheral vision glancing over and so on.
And it varies from country to country as well, by the way.
Oh,
like
because of cultural norms.
Cultural norms. And then also like if I'm in a city where it sounds weird, but like people know me because even though they might not know me, like in Sydney, people will have seen me around.
Right.
Even if they don't know me, that's the dude with the hooks at
or they don't know. I mean,
or
it could be that much like that thought where it was me who told you about the blood. They're all like, oh yeah, it's another hook guy. I've seen him around.
It's his brother or something. Why do they dress different? So anyway, I clocked these two people just watching me, and I went out to smoke. And then as I'm smoking on the side of the boat, I hear this raspy voice, come up behind me. He's like, "How you going, mate?" And I was like, "Okay, how you doing?" And sure enough, I turn around and it's the guy from the couple, right? And he just starts making some small talk with me and stuff like that. And then after a while, he's like, "Oh, so what happened to you then?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, here we go."
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Look, I'm in England," and I was like, "Oh, it was a shark attack."
Oh,
and he's like,
wait, is this one of the first times you were trying on?
I think it might have been. Yeah,
okay.
It could have been, especially overseas because I hadn't been overseas since I'd lost arms and legs.
Yeah,
and so I usually try the shark attack story on with people from other countries because they believe that everything in Australia is trying to kill you.
Yeah, right.
Which it is.
Right. Your favorite snack is fire ants.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. And so I said shark attack to him, and he's like, "Fuck, that's crazy." And I was like, "Yeah." I said I was at Byron Bay, and it was a bull shark, and I sort of laughed to myself about how close bull shark sounded to bullshit. And then we went inside and he kind of followed me. And then I realized that his wife, who I'd clocked in with before, was now sitting next to my friend.
Oh.
And so this was their plan all along, right? It was like divide and conquer.
Oh, that's
amazing. So he waited for me to go out. But this was a problem, right? Because I'd sold this story to this guy, Nigel was his name, right?
Yeah.
And his wife is probably being told a completely different story by Craig.
Oh no, she knows the real work. Yeah.
So I sit down and I tried to get ahead of the story, and I was just like saying to Craig, my friend, I was like, I was just telling Nigel about the shark, and he kind of looked at me, and then Lynn, the woman, she's like, "What shark? Like Craig said you had a disease."
Oh no! Yeah, it's called shark's disease.
Yeah. And I was stumbling on my words, and I'm like, sometimes he comes up with a bullshit story for me, because the real story really hits close to home, especially when we're at sea. And she kind of bought that in the moment. And so that was my first baptism of fire. Like, if you're going to bullshit people, make sure you can back it up with a bunch of details, make sure everyone else is on board.
Yeah.
That's friends of yours or something like that.
Do you have like in that case, I assume, being young and trying that on for size, you probably left him believing that was the story.
Oh, yeah.
Do you feel, well, especially now as you're more of a public figure, you probably can't get away with it?
Yes, I can.
Okay, all right.
And by the way, I'm not that of a public of a figure, especially not in this country.
Somebody was telling me somewhere that you had a video that had 3 million views.
Yeah, but
see, that was a callback because it was you that told me. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I get it.
It's cute. How's that working out for you?
Keep us updated. No, I'm not that well known here in America. We're hoping to move here at some point in the future, and with any luck, maybe I will be. But in Australia, I find it a little bit more difficult to get away with it. But I still can because, yes, not many people know. And here's the other thing is, like, when you say something like that, for somebody to question it is a big ask for them.
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to say,
really?
Imagine talking to someone in a wheelchair and I'm like, well, what happened? They're like, oh, I fell off a sandbank. And I'm like, bullshit. Like, no one's going to do that, right? So you're totally leveraging people's self-consciousness when it comes to this.
So why the attraction to move to America?
You know, I spent a few years here growing up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, actually in Dallas.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, welcome back.
Yeah.
Texan?
So I wasn't born here. I was actually born in South Africa. And then I was only here in Texas from like 2 to 6.
No kidding. That's
Yeah.
long enough that's an important critical period. So that would be
Yeah.
your earliest memories.
I had, yeah, it was. Yeah. And I had a Texan accent when I moved to Australia, and I lost it real quick because none of the Australian kids in the 80s could understand what the fuck I was saying.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. So I guess
That's not the reason, but just as a bit of background, but we started coming here a couple of years ago, and just exploring it. And look, there's a bigger market here for work that I do, and also we started filming this show, Last Meal, and traveling around the world doing that and meeting great people. And what I love about this country is, I don't know, people have a completely different work ethic here, and they get shit done. Mm-hmm. And particularly in Texas, everyone's really nice. Like we got this story where I was mentioning before, we got really sick when we first landed here in Austin in March. And on the first night, you know when you get that feeling, you're like, I'm about to be real sick. Like I'm not going to be moving for a week, right? And I wanted to get myself some pseudoephedrine, like Sudafed. And I go to Walgreens and they're like, sorry, because of, people cook it for meth or whatever. He didn't say that, but like,
but
you have to have an ID. I'm like, don't get an ID. And he's like, no, it's got to be like Canadian, Mexican, or American, not Australian.
Yeah.
Apparently we're the problem.
Yeah.
I'm the one cooking. I come a really long way to cook meth.
Yeah, you hand them your Australian ID and they're like, I'm sorry, this is not valid. You turn it upside down. They're like, oh, there it is.
We get it. Flushes the other way down the toilet when I'm finished with it. So I couldn't get Sudafed, right? Mm-hmm. And I needed it that night. And I stood outside the Walgreens asking old ladies whether they would buy me Sudafed. It reminded me of like when I was a kid, trying to get someone to buy alcohol.
Yeah.
And the first old lady, she's like, well, of course. Like, how many packets would you like? Would you like 5? I'm like, I don't need 5. I just need 1. Like everybody was so lovely.
They're all like, I don't care if you are methed out. This is Texas.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So yeah, people are just really lovely here and over accommodating. There's more stuff to do here. I love the work ethic. I love the people. So we'd love to spend more time here.
So right now I'm having a low-grade panic attack that the tech is going to go out because this has been so delightful. I want to make sure that the files get saved. So let's make sure. Everybody. And in fact, I'm going to keep this in here too. The channel's called what?
Last Meal with Tom Nash.
Okay. Yeah. Last Meal with Tom Nash. Give it a subscribe on YouTube.
Tell us what you think.
Man, this was really special. Thank you
so
for
much for having me.
coming
Appreciate
out.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me press record. And thank you so much.
It's been an honor being on. It's been an honor meeting you and also seeing this amazing space and brand that you've built. It's fantastic.
It's getting there. We had one camera die in the middle of this, but it's
beautiful.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, man.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
All right. I'm going to press save while we still can.
Imagine that. You press save and it's like, sorry. Would you like to do it again?